All right. Well, yes. Well, happy Pride. Happy Pride to my LGBT brothers and sisters. I'm so grateful that you came here, and you'll probably leave in a few and go up to San Francisco. But for those of you who don't know that it's Pride Weekend in San Francisco, it's a really big deal. I remember moving from Albuquerque to San Jose, and it's like the San Francisco's like the gay and lesbian mecca. and so it's like, oh, I just want to go to San Francisco and walk on Castro Street and see rainbow flags. And I don't know what it is. There's something really special about it. And I've been really ruminating on this. There's a lot of people who think, oh, there shouldn't be, celebration of GLBTQ I times. There's more, but or there shouldn't be a celebration of like Black History Month, or there shouldn't be a celebration of Women's Month, right? Because whenever there's a lot of people who think, oh, if we're celebrating this thing, then we're discounting this thing. If I'm celebrating this thing, then I'm discounting this thing. And I really want to invite you to think about where that might be happening in your life. If I'm celebrating, and I don't mean not to celebrate, I mean if you're thinking that it's discounting something, that's what I mean. Because a lot of people come to me and they're like, oh, you do? I have a women's retreat. I run a women's retreat. It's wildly successful, and it is continuing to grow like a wildfire of love and fun. And it's just birthing like mini retreats here and there. It's wonderful. But people come to me and they say, well, why not, a couples retreat? And I say, well, it's actually in my back pocket someday. Silent retreat back there too. And I'm supporting women because I feel like there has been in our society, there has been a discounting of women. And it's my job to show women who they are. So I do that at the retreats. On Sunday, I do that for everybody. When I go to the Gay Pride, I do that for my LGBT brothers and sisters. But it's really about recognizing people for who they are and the diversity that they are. It's like if you see somebody rich, that doesn't mean that if you start celebrating them being rich, you're not discounting yourself. You're actually supporting the evolution of what is happening in the world. So if you really want to tap in and tune in to a higher idea of what's happening on this planet, it's about celebration. It's about the higher idea. And it's not about the looking at the person who isn't celebrated. It's about looking at the person who is celebrated. So how can we find a celebration in every single person? How can we recognize that each and every person deserves to be celebrated as if they're the divine? And is it possible for us to celebrate each other without being mad at each other? Like, can I celebrate that it's Gay Pride Weekend and not have people be mad? If you look on the internet, it's really interesting because there's a lot of discordance happening. Discordance happening because somebody's celebrating something. So that's our theme, is freedom from discord this month. And Ernest Holmes said, we believe the ultimate goal of life is to be a complete emancipation from all discord of every nature, and that this goal is sure to be attained by all. Now, if you see a person who is very wealthy and somewhere in your body you are thinking negative things about them, or you have an idea, oh, wealthy people, they have it all, and you start cursing wealthy people. Now, people do this. Maybe you. But what you're doing is you're actually pushing that thing that you want away from you. So this is where the celebrating comes into play. Celebrate everything. Celebrate everyone. That's the freedom from discord. The emancipation from discord is a celebration. Because life is goodness. It is infinitely expanding. This universe, this God's nature, God, the universe, I don't know what you want to call it. God, what do you use? Spirit? We don't. Spirit.
Divine.
Divine universe. Source. Did somebody say Yahweh? No? Beloved. Yeah, the beloved one. The beloved one is ever expanding. I was listening to an Abraham Hicks session, and Abraham Hicks is about the law of attraction. It's about ever expanding. And somebody said, well, if I say infinite, and then I say God is expanding, how is that possible? How can it be infinite and yet still expanding? That doesn't make sense. Well, the response was, well, your word infinite doesn't really capture what it really is. Yeah. So everywhere we're going, we're on an ever-evolving upward spiral in this planet. So everything that we're doing is ever spiraling upward. Now, if we can tap in and tune in to that spiral, we can get there a lot faster. One way to do it. Actually, I want to ask you a question before I go into that. What do you think is the cause of our discord? What do you think is the cause of this thing that we call discord? Any ideas? Fear, yes. Duality, yeah. Separation, ego, jealousy, yeah. That which isn't working. Not working. Oh. So I agree. I had all those ideas down. It's failure to understand who and what we really are. It's clinging to outer things, believing that they are the cause of our happiness. And it's fear. So Ernest Holmes says, while bondage is an experience, there is a reality in which bondage is not real. Nelson Mandela said he went on a holiday for 27 years in prison. But the beauty about him is he was actually in a cell block with political prisoners. He had a 7-foot square block around concrete, and he just had a slop bucket. There was no reading materials. And he spent his time cultivating love and appreciation for everybody around him. So much so that the guards who were guarding him, they fell for him. They fell in love with him. And they wouldn't have said that. But there was something about him because he wasn't judgmental. He wasn't jealous. He wasn't angry. He didn't have discord towards his guards, the people who were keeping him imprisoned. He didn't have discord. He was free. He was free inside no matter what anybody told him or what anybody tried to do. And he operated from that sense of freedom in everything that he did. And lo and behold, 27 years later, he becomes a free man and then he leads the country. I mean, that's pretty impressive. But that could be you too. Perhaps you're in a place where you're having discord in your life. I want to invite you to cultivate freedom from the inside, because that's where it starts first, is the freedom on the inside. Sometimes we have these ideas like that I have to do this or I should do this. And in order to have a freedom from discord, I would invite you to think of removing the have-tos or the should-dos. Like, oh, I really should do this. Whenever you say that, don't you feel the discord? I should be doing this. I have to do this. I have to go to work. Oh, I have to go to work. I have to go to the place that I chose to go and get paid money, which supplies me with everything that I could ever need. Well, not really everything I could ever need, because it all comes from the inside, right? What if you chose to do everything? And what if you chose what was going on right now? Like everything. Even the things that seem to be discordant. What if you choose it? So I'm going to bring this back to Orlando. I know I've talked about it the last 2 weeks, but it really resonated with me. And I think a lot of the country is still in the shock of what happened. I should be a certain way around it. No. You don't have to should and be a certain way around it. What if you were just being? What if you were being in accordance with that ever-evolving spiral? How would this particular event, how would you have chosen it? How could our country choose this event as if it was the best thing that could have ever happened to our country? Do you guys have some ideas? What perspective would you have if you were choosing it? This will make something happen. An awakening.
It called forth enormous support and love from the entire community.
It called forth enormous support and love from the entire community, yes.
Don't take things for granted. You know, we assume that we have safety in a place and that you'll be here tomorrow. And I mean, life isn't permanent, right? And that increases our ability to say, like I was looking at our calendar for, I think this month, the message on the calendar for the center. And it was talking about see everything, I think, for the first time.
Yeah.
Or the last, really increase your value to that thing.
Yeah.
And so at those moments, right, the tragic, but they do give us a shake to say, hey, you know what, you're here now, and I appreciate you.
Yeah. So don't take things for granted and appreciate everything for what it is. Now think about this again, freedom from discord. Now if you were practicing those things, looking at every event as if it were a catalyst, as if it were the thing to wake people up, as if it were the thing to remind me not to take things for granted, would you have less discord in your life? I would. I do. This is a continual growth for me too. I'm not the only one here, I hope. So there's 3 things that I want you to do to really help yourself get this down. One thing is eliminate the words have to and should from your vocabulary. Instead of I have to or I should do this or you should do this, instead use the language I choose to do this. I choose to do this. I choose to visit my family. Not I have to visit my family. I don't know about... I should go shopping. Well, I choose to go shopping. How about if you have an accident? I chose this. Ooh, that's rough. But again, taking it back, what is this one thing helping me realize about myself? What am I calling forth? If I am in an ever-evolving spiral, if I am evolving into that next place of being, what am I calling forth into my life in which this can be a catalyst for? Anybody in any recovery program can recognize that thing that may be the worst thing for them is actually the best thing for them. So is it possible the worst thing in your life is actually the best thing for you? Is it possible on some level in your body you chose it because you wanted to do great work in this world? I honestly think there's a lot of people who are going through a lot of suffering because this planet is evolving to the next level of consciousness. And we have light workers implanted everywhere on this planet. And I'm guessing you're all one of them. And let's have a little dance party now. Let's have a Lightworker dance party. Dun, 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 dun. It was good. Music falls into my life. And money, I'll take it too. But really, if you were going to choose everything in your life, even the worst things that could ever be, what would you say to yourself? If you were looking at yourself, imagine you are this wise, sage, enlightened being, looking at yourself as the human you are now, right? And what would you say to yourself? Well, I would say, you know what? That abuse, that tragedy, that thing, was because you are one of the most powerful beings that ever was created. And you have so much light to give this world that you chose to do those things in order to be that light in the world. I often think of a bird hatching in an egg. And the bird, if you crack an egg open for a bird, it can't fly. If you allow the bird to move and to struggle, and you allow it to get uncomfortable, it will eventually make its way out. But it's that uncomfortableness that actually builds the muscles so it can fly. So what I'm thinking is, the worse the manure, the higher you're gonna fly, right? The more nutrients that have been packed into your life in order for you to skyrocket and grow and to shine your light onto this planet.
Fertilizer.
It is. It's fertilizer. It is. It's fertilizer. It is the shadow. Yeah. And a lot of us think that the shadow side, well, first of all, a lot of people don't want to look at the shadow side, because who wants to admit that I'm a procrastinator, or that I say mean things to myself, or that, the list goes on, right? So who wants to admit those things? Or that I've done drugs and I've done alcohol and I've had a DUI, and who wants to admit any of those things? Well, I just did to you, but... But part of that is because I recognize that all of those qualities within myself are, and experiences I've had have given me the opportunity to be able to speak to you with more compassion, with more understanding than I could have without those. So I'm able to connect, because it's so important for me to connect. It's so important for me to look into your eyes and to see that divine being. It's so important for me to empower and uplift you. And now, how could I have done that if I didn't do all those things? So can I love myself because I did? Yeah. It made me who I am. And so for me to love the fullness and the wholeness of who I am, I need to accept that. I don't need to. I shouldn't. I am. I choose to. I choose to. I choose to accept those things about myself. And I invite you to think about that for you too. If it weren't for all of those quirks and weird ways of being and experiences you had in your past, you wouldn't be you. I wish I had, there's some Dr. Seuss poem that is in my head, but I can't remember the whole thing. It's like, the youer than you is truer than true, and something, oh man, I wish I had it. You're the only you that you can be. And I'm just going to say it's perfect. Naturally. I can rhyme it too. So here we have our book of the month. And living beautifully with uncertainty and change. And what I really liked about this book of the month is the first, there's 3 commitments that the Buddhists have. And the first week we talked about not causing harm with our words or thoughts. So to be unattached to our anger, jealousy, self-doubt, or blame. That doesn't mean don't have your anger, jealousy, self-doubt, or blame. It means be unattached. So you see it come up, you experience it, you let it go.
90 seconds, right?
90 seconds, that's right. It takes 90 seconds for you to fully experience that emotion in your body. So be willing to just feel it for 90 seconds, and then anything after that, your mind is making up and continuing that pattern. And so that's where I wanted to tie in, eliminate the words have to and should from your vocabulary, because if that's causing harm with your words. I have to, I should do this, because it's causing that discordance in your body. But I choose has a positive connotation, a positive energetic. The second commitment was to take action to help others. Now I wanted to utilize this in a way that you could really understand. Discord is a tool. So remember the bird coming out of, it's a tool. It's a key, it's a symbol that we're out of alignment with our true selves. And so it invites you to realize that something else is calling you. Harmony, freedom. When you see discord, you get present to what you don't want, which gives you clarity on what you do want. But if you focus on what you don't want, then you get more of what you don't want. But if you see the discord, which is what you don't want, then you get clear to what you do want, and then you choose what you do want at that moment in time, right? You can utilize the discord like a hammer to nail down what you want. So the discord, it comes to you, but you use it as a tool. This is what I want. This is what I want. But if you use it as a tool, you can also use it as a tool against yourself. So if you use the hammer against yourself, not pretty, right? Use it as a nail to nail down what you do want. Use it as a nail. And whenever you nail down what you do want, it's an opportunity to start doing and practicing giving what you want away to others. Giving what we want away to others. Paul Witt was talking about that. He said the thing he does is he gives away the thing that he wants. It starts here first, remember? Freedom. Nelson Mandela had the freedom on the inside first, before he had the freedom on the outside. So anything that you want, that you're seeking, it's inside first. And the discord gives you clarity to what you want. And so once you get that discord, you get the clarity to what you want, you can start focusing on what you want. So it's a tool to help you get activated into what you really want. The third commitment is to embrace the world just as it is. Release attachments. A primary tenet of Buddhist philosophy is that suffering of life is caused by our attachments. As we're attached to things, then we cling to them. It's our clinging that gives us challenge. And I know oftentimes, like I was attached to my old job. I really wanted it. It's funny because change either what people may label as negative or positive is uncomfortable. But change is that thing that causes us to grow. Again, change is that discord that causes us to grow. So we're never free from change, because change is an ever thing. But maybe instead of us seeing it as the discordant thing that's happening in our life, we can see it as a tool to activate us into a freer, more expansive way of being. I used to think that I wasn't able to make a certain amount of money. And then I thought, well, what if I just dreamed up that I could? And what if I just declared that I could? And when I first started working at Stanford, I worked at Stanford for 11 years. When I first started working at Stanford, first of all, I was working for a staffing company that Stanford was our client. And so I actually had to quit my job so I could be in integrity with starting at Stanford. But then 9/11, 2001 happened, and there was no jobs. And Stanford went on a hiring freeze. Well, I got hired at Stanford during a hiring freeze. And then my next job that I applied for at that time, I didn't have any degrees. And so my next job required a bachelor's degree in order to go into the next job. But I went ahead and applied for it anyway because I wanted it. I didn't care if it said I needed a bachelor's degree. I applied for it and I got it. Yeah. It's interesting to see what our own minds limit us from doing, because we think that just because somebody says it's so, we think it's so. But it's not so. So what? So do something else. Create in your life a new idea of possibility. Create in your life what you really want. And use that discord as that tool to navigate you to what you do want. And when the emotion comes up, just allow it to be. It's coming up, it comes through me, 90 seconds, okay, it's done. All right. And then we can create a world that works for everyone. But it starts right here. It starts with you. And it starts with me. Because freedom is ever available. How much and how quickly we can have of it is only up to us to decide. What would it really feel like to be free? What does it look like to live in a country of freedom? And I know that we have this as a basis, one of the tenets in our country. And I know that it starts from within, which means that you get to cultivate the freedom from discord. You get to cultivate that freedom to live in a free space, free from those negative thoughts, free from those ideas that are holding you back, and stepping into a new idea of possibility. What would you do if you could just dream it and it would happen? What would you do? So think about that this week, because I want to create a world that works for everyone. And I want to create a world that works for you. But in my world, that means that each and every one of us really taps into the beauty, to the love, and to the freedom of who we really are. And then we share that with each other. And that's what creates a world that works for everyone. Are you in?
Yes.
Me too. Thank you. Let's pray. I'm so grateful to be here, to be present. And this beautiful day, knowing that this day was created for me. It was created for each and every one of us, hearing my voice. And so I recognize that today that I am tapped in, tuned in, and part of that freedom. That the universe was designed to support me in my blooming, in my blossoming, in my flight, in my expression, in sharing my light. I know and claim that each and every person here is a part of that expression, and that we are united in our consciousness of freedom. And so I declare that it is easy and effortless for us to step into that new idea of possibility, to step into that new way of being. I'm so grateful for the opportunities for me to see who I used to be, and for me to step into a new idea of what I really want to experience. I choose love. I choose joy. I choose happiness. I choose a new path for my life that continues to get better and better and better and better. And when I have that feedback from the universe, that discordant feedback, I recognize that it is a tool for me to step into that new way of being, to step into that new way of dreaming. And so I choose to dream even greater dreams, to see an even greater possibility for this world, for this planet, for this life, for my relationships, for my finances. I accept it. I welcome it. I choose it. And I choose to be inundated with love, inundated with prosperity, inundated with this freedom of fun and spontaneity. I think it is fantastically magnificent. And so I just say yes. And I surrender all else. I surrender all attachment. I surrender all needing to cling. And I open up to that greater expression, greater than I could even imagine. I say yes. Thank you, God. I am so grateful. And so it is.